Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Human Intelligent Dialogue, wherever you're checking us out from. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to be back with you again. And like always, if you've been listening to my podcast in the past, I bring in people from all different walks of life that bring different experiences as they've gone through their journey from a human capital perspective. I write about the boss behaviors of smart supervisors, the perfect human capital storm trends that are impacting organizations. And like always, especially as a veteran, I like to bring in some veterans too once in a while. So today I have the pleasure of having with me Mr. Kenny LaFate, who I'm going to have him introduce himself and share a little bit about his background, his experience, and why I consider that he would bring a value added perspective for organizations, for veterans looking to transition out, and overall just to what he has seen since he's been out in the last 20 years with organizations and some of the work that he's doing today. So, Kenny, welcome to the show.
Well, Edwin, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. It's a great pleasure. I find this is a great opportunity to kind of communicate out to a number of different venues, organizations, and folks who will look at the military perspective as, hey, I can kind of buy into that because that affects me. I've been there, done that, and got a T-shirt. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, Edwin. I actually served almost 30 years in the military. I have a strong concentration in senior level law enforcement management. Specialize in law enforcement, as I mentioned, anti-terrorism, force protection, counterterrorism, three combat tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, Bosnia. Served overseas a total of 13 years out of my almost 30 years. And my last position I had in the military, I was the provost marshal. I was the theater provost marshal, which is a one-star position for a 2-year period in combat operations, where I had over 7,000 people. Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines were under my, I wouldn't say direct control for combat operations, but oversight for management and theater operations. Uh, Follow on, I've been out of the military almost 20 years. Hard to believe. Then followed into a contracting world where I worked for DRS Technologies, MPRI, DynCorp, PAE, Raytheon, the whole gamut. So I have a great plethora of experience working with them under the auspices of the embassies in Iraq and also Afghanistan. I may note that I was basically assigned overseas all of the 12 years in a row with very few breaks. uh, Basically over in theater of operations. So, and then last, as my life comes to a pinnacle, I'm serving as a volunteer. Currently, I sit as the co-chair for the Retiree Council. It basically covers down from South Carolina, the state of part of the state of South Carolina, Georgia, and the whole entire state of Florida. Uh, and that's a huge job. But we interface with the Joint Chief of Staff in Washington, D.C. We also develop white papers that are topics that help generate as far as where the military should move in terms of supporting the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines out in the field. And it's not just based on pay, but more of concerns of issues that are taken in their account for their daily lives. Then last, I serve as the vice president of the Orlando MOA, Military Officers Association, for this area. So this, I guess, really those three areas kind of covers down on what I do and where I'm at in my life.
Cool. Thank you, Kenny. So, yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you for your service. So I would say from 10 years forward, but keep it in context, your 30 years and even 10 years after the military. But what are you seeing now, particularly in these volunteer organizations and as you see the workplace play out and things that are changing and happening today? What are you seeing some of the human capital trends emerging that will impact organizational dynamics? You have some veterans coming out considering, hey, where am I going to go join? How's my military experience going to be considered? Those kinds of things. But what are you seeing some trends taking place in organizations as you serve in your circles. Granted, most of them quite a few of them are retired, but some of them may still be working or have families that are still working. So what kind of, how are those conversations going?
Interesting enough, we're basically in a market where people in general are getting older. We have an aging population. Along with that, we have a youth that are now we're depending more on our youth taking over a large part of the responsibilities that at one time we had more people contributing into the pool of Social Security, more people contributing into the workforce. That's not so anymore. We're all confronted, each one of us, whether it's military, your contracting world, or any business out there, they're now looking at how do I get people? How do I keep people? What do I need to do in order to uh, keep profitability up there, but at the same time take care of people? And this is a dynamic that's confronting the workplace right now. But I want to switch to one thing that you said. As a soldier, sailor, airman, and marine, if you're getting out, I think the market is very good for you to actually transition. I think it's always been a good market to transition in. You got to keep your skills up. One of the key things that was very big when I was in the military and still is big is training, maintaining core competencies, making sure that you're able to do what the goals or set the goals, maintain the goals, and be able to take those goals and then basically be able to deploy and take those goals in order to showcase the America's will if called upon to do such. So, I think it's always been a good time for soldiers to sailors, airmen, Marines to get out of the military. You got to take that package with you as far as your skills, though.
You bring up a good point. So, what do you see in some solutions taking place for those veterans that transition out that make that leap? Because as you know, when you come out of the military, you come out with your own jargon. And so you have to almost do a translation so that the civilian world, and it's ironic, you and I got out a long time ago, and we're still having these issues today. Some organizations beyond thank you for your service, they're not sure how they can tap into you, which is beyond me. Not all, but some. And so, what are some solutions you're seeing that either A, organizations are doing, and B, those transitioning out are doing?
Yeah. Uniquely enough, you don't have as many people who work in various organizations anymore that have a military experience. That's becoming less and less and less. It's happening in Congress. It's happening in the companies that you may work in, whether it be Raytheon or Lockheed or any others. That diminishing military roles that used to be a big part, where they used to really like to have military come in because they know they have a core set of values. They don't have to teach them as much. They depend on them because they say, this guy has leadership. I can trust that person in this role because they've already proven themselves to make a certain rank. They've already proven themselves because they showed the fact that they have those skills and abilities that we were looking for. So I think the jargon that the individual who leaves the military has to kind of adjust to is basically being more able to talk and walk like the civilians. You can take your jargon with you, but you got to use it when it's opportunistic around other people that can understand. You can't use it in a briefing and think that everybody's going to understand. It has to be common. You could throw a plug in, but it can't be your major plug.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's kind of fascinating for me to still watch. I got out what I call BI before internet. Uh,
Hmm.
so I remember walking around with my resume in hand trying to make a transition, and I was working in the human capital space, leadership development, stuff like that, which is sort of known to the civilian world versus somebody that's been a squadron commander, yes, in a leadership role, but you're in combat, and so it's a different space. So it's been kind of interesting for me to watch. The more we change, the more it remain the same. So let me ask you this: having been, if you want to take just the last 5 years forward, Where do you see the future of work? We've got AI that's really taking front and center. The pandemic put people to work remote and hybrid, and people still wanting to do that. We have the whole changing workforce psychology. People are looking for different things in their organizations and management. They're looking for happiness, purpose, mastery, things like that. Things that probably you and I didn't think about when we were 17 and went to our first job. And just the workforce evolution that's been taking place. So, where do you see that all playing out? Where do you see that headed?
That's a very interesting question because I think management is still trying to figure out for themselves, how do I keep my employees happy? At the same time, how do I keep this building that I'm paying for without that employee, justifying why we even have the building, justifying uh, the quality of work that I'm receiving from a person who may be working remote. Uh, Folks who are our age or older, they have a hard time grappling with offsite. Now, I'm a believer that you can do a lot of work with AI and integrating AI, and also do a lot of work offsite. But there are a lot of old schoolers out there who don't believe in it. They believe that you got to be in the office for those 5 or 6 days out of the week, or they can't justify it in their own mind that they had the productivity that they need in order to do the work. Well, here's the flip. The big flip, I think, is you got to really understand, if you're going to train people, if you're going to maintain the skill set that they have, you can't look at the old way of doing business. You got to change. You got to be flexible. If you're not flexible in the market to actually change, then you've got these young kids who are coming in. They're going to see you as a dinosaur. And they're going to say, do I really want to work for them? I have my options now. Do I really want to work for this company? Or do I want to go over here where I get a latte every day because they got a nice little coffee shop, and the other one, I got to go 4 blocks down the road to get one. So you got to really look at where we are in terms of today's society and what we need to do. But you always got to keep in mind that you got to be able to you got to train your people. You got to maintain the skill sets in order to perform. And secondary to that, profitability will come.
That's such an interesting point because as you and I know, you being out 20 years and me being more than that, um, third quarter dividends and profitability has always been priority, and the human aspect of it is secondary. And I think that's beginning to shift and flip, particularly when you have a skill shortage that's going on. We talked about the aging society, in turn, aging workforce, multi-generational workforce, now growing multicultural
Mhm.
generation behind it.
Sure.
Um, and again, people coming in with a different psychology. And then on top of that, you have a skill shortage. So to your point, those that are coming out of the military, or those looking for jobs today, if they have the right skill sets, they're going to have better options than those that don't. And it's not necessarily just AI skill sets, it's being comfortable using that. So let me ask you this. What actionable advice would you give to managers that are looking to hire people, for those veterans that are looking to transition out, and even for HR professionals in departments? Because I'm actually teaching for today for a college online where their major student population are military. As a matter of fact, I had somebody writing in, I've been stationed in Germany for the last 10 years with the Army or the Air Force. It just depends which one, who's speaking to me. So, what actionable advice do you have for hiring managers? You kind of started to talk about that. What actionable advice do you have for organizations, and then even for those transitioning out, and for the HR organization?
Another good question that I think, in my opinion, after reviewing several, probably thousands of different resumes for people in various jobs, I used to always want to look to see who thinks out of the box. Uh, I always pose questions to help generate, is this a person that's going to be able to take this organization and manage a new crop coming in? Is this a person that's going to be able to um, tell the king he doesn't have any clothes on, which is important? And we kind of see that. I'm not going to expound on that, but we kind of see it now where people are afraid to tell different leaders, hey, boss, that's not the right thing to do. That's not what we really want to do. Cherishing an employee's opinion, telling the workplace that I'm going to care for you. If you tell me I'm wrong, I'm not going to fire you. Well, in today's society, you have a lot of people who are afraid to go to work because they don't know whether they're going to be fired today or tomorrow. So you've got to have a safe environment for your people to work in. You have to uh, you have to be a boss that's willing to take risks. And taking risks means that you're going to care for your people and they're going to see it. So I would say the challenge is for organizations not to hire everybody like yourself. Diversity, it's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with diversity. We made it an ugly word today, but it's not an ugly word. I wouldn't be here today. My mother wouldn't have been where she was a number of years ago when she was a chemist. But then again, my mother fell in a gap where she was able to blend in with the society. If you get my drift, she was able to blend in because of her background. She was mixed. She was mixed. Therefore, she was able to blend in to society where they didn't know what she was. But today, you have a better opportunity of you don't have to necessarily blend in. You can be in just by virtue of diversity. And I think that's the challenge for management to understand that there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing.
Yeah, thanks for that. And so then, right behind that, what would you recommend to those transitioning out, and what would you recommend to HR professionals that are part of that are helping organizations? And
Yeah. I would say that for the professionals getting out, I think it's important for them to identify, in interview processes on their resume, not to embellish that, yeah, they've done all these great things, but rather, hey, here are the most important things I bring to the table that I think this company is going to grow on. Yeah, I actually did Six Sigma. I'm a black belt. I've done these things to show you that I want to be able to go into your company at GE. I understand that GE had some of the top guys that were involved in Six Sigma in the early days and black belts and all that. I took it on my own to do these things. Getting your skills up to par to where you can transition into an organization, know the organization. You have to be able to go into the background of knowing that organization, doing research, understanding where you fit into the organization. Very important to know, where do I fit? Not just airborning into an operation and thinking, oh, I'm here. Now what do I do? Being ready to take on those skills, and then for management to say, here's what I'm going to do for you. If I hire you, and I understand that you bring to the table some important skills that we're looking for, if I hire you in the HI arena, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to train you to where we believe that you need to be trained in order to perform the roles and missions. I'm going to allow you to be the manager I think that you are because you have that experience on the outside where you worked, where you're able to demonstrate with other people that, hey, he takes charge. This person allowed for his people to do things, and he was given awards, not necessarily monetary awards, but he was given medals, he was given achievements because the organization didn't have to give money. They gave him recognition. And then to the same tune for people getting out, they are looking for some of that same type of recognition. And they can talk to their future managers and say, look, here's what I would like to do if I'm given the opportunity to go into this role and function. I'd like to bring some of these things in to the organization to help grow us.
Some interesting insight you shared there. I wanted to touch on something you talked about earlier, and then I'm going to come back to a couple of things you just said. You talked about I need to be able to feel safe in the workplace, that I can raise my opinion and give a different perspective, contrary to Kenny, who's my boss's perspective on it. Interestingly enough, when you got out 20 years ago, I don't know for a fact, but I'm fairly confident. I don't remember it 20 years ago, the term psychological safety. Now it's a buzzword everywhere. Amy Edmondson wrote a book about it from Harvard. And so the fact that, to your point, psychological safety is I need to be able to raise my hand and not necessarily challenge, but in a positive way, challenge Kenny's way of thinking because
Correct.
you may be missing something. And she cites some perfect examples in her book. So that's one. The other one that you talked about, diversity, I backed into this field 40 years ago, trained here at Patrick Air Force Base, DOMI, Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute. We didn't call it diversity back then. We called it human relations. But that is the terminology that's being used today. And it's unfortunate that so many people are looking at it as a negative hot potato, when in reality, American society is changing. The world is changing. As a matter of fact, the US is expected by 2042 to 2045 to be a majority minority nation. So it is what it is. And we have this aging demographic that is predominantly of one group, but they're getting older. And so now we have more multi-generations. And so the what managers and leaders have to do, which is kind of what you alluded to and what I've been involved in preaching and writing about and so forth,
Mhm.
is how do I tap into the diverse workforce do I have that have different perspectives that maybe I missed along the way or somebody missed? Because there's a lot of research out there that says the more diverse executive team you have, the better your organization does, and you achieve those bottom line
Sure.
numbers that you're looking to do. So diversity is a financial strength, not only just a positive overall good human strength. The last piece you just mentioned here, I want to be recognized. Interestingly enough, Kenny, there's an interesting TED talk out there you may want to check out. It's called the 2030 Workforce Crisis, by Boston Consultant. And out there, they asked 200,000 people worldwide, what are you looking for in your next employer? By the way, pay was number 8. The number one thing they asked for was appreciation, a simple thank
Mhm.
you. Just being recognized for the work I do. That's all. And that was 10 years ago. You don't think that's even more relevant now with continual
Sure.
downsizing, right sizing, and using AI as the excuse? I think that's going to be interesting phenomena as we continue to go forward. So having said all of that, what would be, I don't know, one, two, or three pieces of advice, some key takeaways that they can go from this podcast? This is what I remember Kenny said that we need to do. A, for organizations and leaders, and B, for those veterans transitioning out.
Yeah, for the management, I would say don't look at AI as a godsend to do all. It's not going to capture all the faults in your organization. It's not going to cure everything. So manage AI to what it is. Grow into AI as you can. Don't overdo it. Don't rush into it too much to where you think that I can do all my staff work. I can replace 40% of my staff because now I have AI. Very much a danger. So I would say that for management, be careful because that's the dog that can really hunt you in the end. For for military, for civilians who are working in the workforce, flexibility. You're going to have to be as flexible as possible when you do go into the workplace because it is a changing environment. Because you're needed, it's going to be it's a system where management is going to help you get in, but at the same time, management is going to they do not have as much. Um, I would say, let me just go back here because my point here is you used to be able to make mistakes, and in today's workforce, there's less mistakes that you can make before they root you out of the career field. So I would say, be careful, know your skills, be precise, and continue to educate yourself.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks for your insights and perspectives on that. Because to your point, almost 30 years in the military at the officer or senior officer ranks, having worked after that as a contractor around the world, continue to work around the world, and now today working with veteran organizations in a senior in a leadership role, in helping those that are either retired or military members and officers and so forth. You know, it's interesting. The last word you mentioned about change, I just happen to have posted today on LinkedIn the following quote: change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss out on the future. This is by John F. Kennedy. So, interesting to your point, organizations have to continue to adapt and change, or they become the blockbuster of the past. And at the same time, recognize your workforce has different expectations. So, for those managers in the workplace, AI is not going to replace HI, human intelligence.
Correct.
AI, if anything, is going to complement that. So, again, thank you, Kenny, for your time and your insights and your perspectives. For those veterans out there tuning in, I hope you take some key advice away from it. And if not, you're going to see Kenny's contact information at the beginning and at the end of this podcast. So look forward to coming back and speaking with other people that we continue to invite as we get this broad perspective on the human capital trends that are taking place. Kenny, again, thank you for your time. I sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Evan. Personally, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad that you stopped by to visit. We're in the business of helping organizations in the growing era of AI become more HI, and that is become more of a human intelligent workplace. And we do that in a variety of ways. We can do speaking engagements. I can come in and speak to you either at executive retreats, at offsites, keynotes, things of that nature, to kind of share with you some of the trends that are taking place and what the implications may be for your organization. Sort of in a way, put a mirror up to your organization and say, these are the things that are happening. Are you ready for them? Are you doing something about it? So that's just one way. Another way we do some work with organizations is through executive coaching, helping from VPs to frontline supervisors, those to soon to be in supervisory, high potential individuals, help them in their development. Also do leadership and team development work. And along with that, we use instruments to help organizations from a consulting perspective help themselves, whether it's the Human Intelligent Workplace instrument or questionnaire to take a sense of, hey, how are we doing in this space? Also, organizational change readiness questionnaire. Are you ready for the changes? What are you missing based on some of this information? And lastly, we also look at leader behavior effectiveness questionnaires. How well are your leaders doing? How do they assess themselves? And how are the workforce assessing them too, whether it be 360 or others? So we're here to help, particularly in this ongoing changing era that organizations are facing, a time of uncertainty, a time where the workplace or the workforce is expecting different things. So hopefully you'll reach out to us and let us know how we can help you out. You can look at some of our information that we have on our website, some of the various podcasts, some of the articles and videos that I've put out there. And hopefully those will percolate and create some thoughts and reflective moments to think about maybe we need to have a discussion with the human intelligent workplace.